Here we go. All right.
Hey,
Today, on the seventh birthday of my son, I had to have family in fold. One of my biggest fans and one of my probably biggest critics as well, my sister Denise, is joining me today on the Bag of Six. Thank you.
oh, you're most welcome. It's all constructive. All constructive. No criticism. It's not. Well,
I don't,
except for when you're totally wrong.
I don't mind criticism. I mean, granted, list is list, and this is how it's going to be. But I do appreciate comments. Everybody's willing to, and I have actually strongly considered some other suggestions. Strongly considered them.
But you didn't do it. So, you got that
Right.
going for you. I will say, though, you and Chris last week introduced me to some music I hadn't heard in a very, very, very long time. And for my husband, music he had never heard at all. So thank you for that opening our musical for us.
Right on. So yeah, so here we go.
Okay.
Last week I took on Curtis, who is a DJ and a music expert about something regarding music. And today at the apex of my age range would be 12 of 80s drama movies. So this is more your wheelhouse as you were a teenager in the 80s and going to the theater and getting into them. So recently on my personal Facebook page, I did comedy movies. So I feel that's been covered. I know, I nailed that one, but yes, I did. I did. I mean, I did.
Okay. Agree to disagree.
All right. So now we're going to hit into the drama field because the 80s, man, from
There's some
music,
great movies.
yeah, from music to movies, there's a wide, like probably some of the widest ranges of ever. Like when I think of music and I think of like waking up and all of a sudden Taco putting on the Ritz is a hit, and then all of a sudden you're going to Whitesnake. The movie scene was a little bit similar. You kind of go
Agree.
from
Agree.
all right. I don't want to give away any possible picks here, so I won't give examples here. But the range was more bonkers than now, where like I feel like we've hit kind of themes, genres. Everybody's kind of gotten into their thing. There was a little bit more Wild Wild West in the 80s. So
Yes, a lot more rinse and repeat these days. And largely based on movies that came out in the '80s, where it's like, okay, this is a lane we can drive in, and they just continue to drive in, but it was started back in the '80s.
exactly. Now it's like, okay, what can make the most money?
Yeah,
We're gonna do superheroes. We're gonna do things that are blockbuster. In the 80s, it was like you got an idea, we got some cash, let's
sure,
go.
agreed.
So there was a little bit more range. And as usual, the guest goes first. So please drop on us your number six
Okay.
80s drama movie.
Okay. And as you said, my list is still so big that I just haven't even really narrowed it down yet. So my number six is going to be number six and number six. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. The reason is these two movies, in my opinion, went through my entire 80s because the first movie's in high school and the second movie's out of college. And that's kind of where I went through the 80s. They're also very indicative of a grouping of movies that kind of come from the 80s that all same actors called the quote unquote Brat Pack. Some of these, well, Rob Lowe probably is the only one, are still around today and kind of continuing down this path. But my six is The Breakfast Club, and my 6A is St. Elmo's Fire.
We're going with Breakfast Club as a drama, huh?
Well, it could be a comedy, but there were some dramatic things. I mean, think about it. The kid taped some dude's butt cheeks. He had a bomb in his locker. The lamp wouldn't work. We've got Bender giving his whole tale about how his dad basically kicks the shit out of him all the time.
Yeah.
It's a drama. There were some comedic moments, but really, you've got, Dander. It's just a drama. St. Elmo's Fire actually is supposed to be a drama. It's probably more of a comedy. So I think if I blend them together as 6 and 6A, somewhere in the middle there's one good drama. There's kind of two mediocre movies, but there's one really good drama, and they both had very teachable moments, which for me in the 80s, I did love the So there you go, 6 and 6A. I'm already out of the gate cheap.
Well, surprisingly, I can't hate on that. I was expecting you to go St. Elmo's Fire, which I was ready to pump a whole lot of holes in because the Kirby character is one of the
Oh, well, he's
first.
pathetic. He's pathetic. In fact, they could have just cut. They could have left Emilio Estevez on the floor, and I don't think anyone would have noticed. And he would have wasted Annie McDowell, who was a decent actress, and she's got.
It was borderline offensive. But we didn't go there. So yeah, I was expecting there because that movie is a lot more dramatic. I mean, but
It's supposed to be, but it's also ridiculously stupid funny. So
yes, yeah, yeah. So no, yeah, I think
and Judd, of course, is the connector. Judd Nelson's the connector.
right, right. When you said Brat Pack, I was ready. I had my guns ready. I was ready to just fire holes in St. Elmo's Fire. But yes, no, from Brian's confession to Bender's scars to yeah, as things unfolded and you found out the prom queen isn't the prom queen and you found out that yes, you mentioned the tape butt cheeks, like they all had their issues. They were working through them. The friendship, and I'm gonna botch their names right now, but between the janitor and the principal, it was another level of there where they're just like, man, we see this every year. Like you realize like the kind of background of it. Yeah, it is a drama, even though funny, maybe not intentionally, because I feel if Emilio Estevez can scream really loud and break windows, that's hilarious to me. But it's not a comedy; it's a drama.
It's largely a drama, but again, there are some comedic moments. Which your best dramas have a few comedic moments. Otherwise, it's too much to take for. Well, if one of the ones you mentioned earlier is on your list, I mean that whole movie, there's no comedic relief.
Yeah, yeah. Well, then I will kind of keep that in that same range then, because this one did have some comedic movies or comedic elements as well. And it's been revived via Netflix, even though I paid a stupid amount to watch it on YouTube. But The Karate Kid. The Karate Kid is yeah, exactly. Wax on, wax off. It's the classic like re-imaging of Rocky. Like when Rocky came out, that was the you know, unheard of underdog tale, overcoming what it was. This attacked bullying. It had years later, we kind of argue where exactly Daniel was coming from, and they've kind of retold the story a little bit. And I'm a big William Zabka fan, so I ride for Johnny Lawrence. But that said, the movie, when you realize he is doing all these chores to learn to do karate, Pat Morita is aces in this, just crushed it. And of course, Zabka as the main villain, and the iconic skeleton costume. Everything about it is great, but it is a dramatic movie. New fish in a new town, trying to make it together. We have no idea why Elizabeth Shue actually likes him, and luckily she bails by episode or season.
Way above his league with Elizabeth Shue. Let's be honest.
Right. The truth comes out in the sequel, but yeah. Karate Kid, fantastic movie. I mean, like I said, how could you get two sequels, a reboot with Will Smith and his son, and then a whole series of going on season 3 of shows?
Now, is that what Cobra Kai is?
Cobra Kai is fantastic. You haven't seen it yet?
No. I have to be honest. I have to confess. I barely remember seeing Karate Kid. I remember seeing the first one. I don't remember seeing any sequels, anything else. But it's just where I was in my life.
You forgot the ID.
Okay.
Can I give it to her?
Yes. Well, the thing is,
I can remember it, but I know I never saw Karate Kid 2 or anything. But all my friends are watching Cobra Kai. Okay. I would say all in all, though, Karate Kid is a good movie.
It is. It really is. I mean, you get into a lot of emotional aspects. I mean, you really get into Pat Morita, Mr. Miyagi's like history of like his trauma with being a soldier. Like, there's a lot of like really deep. He gives him a car. I mean, that doesn't really make much sense, but I mean, like you kind of get on the end of his like he's kind of fading out, man. And he found a connection with the young man, and he's going to pass on his legacy, in which you do see eventually later. But you kind of feel that in the original movie. So that's my number 6, Karate Kid.
Okay. My number 5 is kind of sticking in the same lane, and I'm kind of surprised by that, but we'll just kind of go with it. I just had this discussion with my daughter Caitlin about how often you read a book, you see the movie, and you think, they didn't put this in, they didn't put this in. It's the worst adaptation you've ever seen. There is one book that I've read that I have to honestly say the movie is a million times better. And that would be my number 5 pick. You look for the last.
Hold on.
I think I'm throwing you a little bit of a curveball. It is The Outsiders.
The Outsiders?
Yes. Stay gold, Pony Boy. Not a dry eye in that theater. I rarely cry in movies when I'm in public. That movie bawled like a baby. I mean, how could you not?
Yeah, no, that's that. I mean, if we wanted to break down star power, I mean, granted, they got these guys when they were kids.
Oh, absolutely, yes. But you cast, you look at who was in it, you're like, oh my gosh, he was in it too. He was in it. I mean,
right. We got Swayze, we got Cruz, we got Macchio, we got Estevez, we got Ruffalo. Like the amount of
Thomas Howell, who, I mean, granted, hasn't necessarily aged well, but
right.
Well, in fact, we just had a conversation. He was in Criminal Minds episode, and Caitlin goes, "You didn't tell me that was Pony Boy." I'm like, because he doesn't look like Pony Boy anymore.
No, it's a fantastic. And who played Cherry Valance? Is that Diane Lane? So I mean, come on. I mean, that is.
You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong.
It's like Kevin or Matt Dillon. I mean, how are we leaving that?
Where's Matt Dillon been? I haven't seen him forever.
I don't know, but he is arguably the greatest actor in that movie, in my opinion.
Agreed.
His role was as wide. I mean, yes, the dynamic between Macchio and Pony Boy and is dynamic, but I mean,
no, it's definitely his movie. And then he shoots something like there's something about Mary.
Oh, what you got going on there?
Well, either B1 or B2 ran in. They like to chew out water bottles, but Caitlin got it. So.
I definitely had it on my almost list. It was on my honorable mentions list, so I can't argue with it. It's fantastic. Stay gold, Pony Boy. The hospital scenes, grips the strings, super dramatic. I mean, they saved children they didn't expect to. I mean, it's a literal.
And like I said, truly better than the book, and you can rarely say that about a movie. I always say, "Oh, the book was so much better." That one, no.
I'm a little disappointed I haven't had a chance to pick any nits with you yet, but.
Well, don't worry. I've got a couple in here that you're going to have. Like, you're like, are you kidding me? So,
all right.
Number 5.
Well, if we're going to go with the journey story based on younger children, teenagers, whatever it is, I'm going to stick with that theme. And my number 5 will be Stand By Me.
That was on my honorable mention list too.
Stand By Me is, a tour de force by River Phoenix. Shame he left us too soon, but I mean, his performance in there is chilling. Him matched with Wheaton, and then, Jerry O'Connell. That's another fantastic catch. And you have Corey. I can't remember which one right now, but
I don't know. It doesn't matter. They were just the
Feldman. But yes, you have them. It's the classic kid story. I mean, like camping out, cruising around. The horrible, evil thing. Kiefer Sutherland, like you honestly get scared toward the end when they actually come toward it. He steals his dead brother's hat. Like, I mean, John Cusack plays a post-mortem role, which is wonderful. And it grips at your heartstrings the whole way. And when, Whedon and River Phoenix are having that conversation after everybody kind of goes out, and he's like, I know I'm never going to be shit, but you have this talent. You are a writer. You stick to that. And he's like, no, it's dumb. And he's like, no, like seriously, like, I mean, that performance there between the both of them is still like, it gives me chills. Like he's trying to like dumb himself down to be friends with his friend. And his friend is just like, no, man, and they talk about, he was accused of stealing milk money and he did not. And he's like speaking in hypotheticals of, and maybe they knew I didn't, but they knew they could put it on me. I mean, it's gripping. That whole like campfire scene right there alone is one of the greatest things I saw. And again, maybe that speaks a little bit to our demographics as well, because like I feel,
I don't feel as connected as you do, but I can't disagree. I do believe it's a good movie.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to be higher.
And we got the Barfarama, so I mean.
There you go. Okay. Well, there you go. Well, then this might be the one that I finally, but the Academy agrees with me. So my number 4 pick is Wall Street.
Oh, okay.
Michael Douglas was in so many movies in the 80s, comedies, drama. I mean, geez, I started looking at the list after I picked this movie and thought, how on earth was he in this many movies? But he just was. Almost went Fatal Attraction. So I was like, I just hated him that whole movie. So I really just couldn't do it. And I figured if the Academy says Wall Street's good, it can be my number 4. So my number 4 is Wall Street.
Yeah, I mean, it's Gordon Gekko. He's an iconic character. But in that aspect, this will be my nitpick, that it is all Douglas. The actual.
Oh yeah, Charlie Sheen sucks. I mean, he's horrible.
Bud Fox is bad. The actual plot of the movie is average.
Well, his dad, though, Martin Sheen's good in it. Martin Sheen's good.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you that. And it is kind of fun to watch as a retro pick when he has like the brick phone, and like that was like the icon of wealth.
Your brother-in-law had a brick phone, so yeah.
That was the 1% back then. Is like, if you had
we still have it around here somewhere.
Right. So I mean, yes, I think the actual story and movie itself may not be, but I mean, Gordon Gekko, Greed is good. Like, I mean, all the lines, the slick back hair, the actual visuals of it and what it became of. We won't speak of the sequel, but
I didn't even know there was a sequel.
You didn't know there was a sequel?
No.
Oh yeah.
Did it go straight to Cinemax?
No, it was in the theaters.
Seriously?
Yeah.
When did it come out?
I want to say about 8 to 10 years ago.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. That's probably
yeah, it wasn't good, but I mean, yeah.
I have a block of the early 2000s, so I probably didn't see it.
I want to say Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, there you go.
Don't bash the booth on my, no, not on the Bag of Six, no.
Well, he's not even in any of our movies, so we're good.
No, he is. But did you see, I'm going to do a Zach Morris here timeout. Did you see the dramatic reading of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which is not a drama, so I don't feel dropping that?
No.
Okay, check it out on YouTube. Shia LaBeouf plays Spicoli. Brad Pitt's in it. Julia Roberts, Jennifer Aniston.
Who's Sean Penn play that?
What's that?
Sean Penn's in it. So what does he play, Mr. Hand?
He's in it. This is just a dramatic reading where other people are playing different characters. But yeah, Sean Penn's in it. Dane Cook, who's hosting it, who happens to be in it. But Morgan Freeman's doing narration. It's fantastic. But my man Shia goes full method. He's in his car. He is chiefing big hog leg joints. Like it's hilarious. So if you haven't seen it on YouTube, or if anybody hasn't, the dramatic reading of Fast Times, yeah, it's heavy hitting, and or not heavy hitting, it's heavy players in it between all the people involved. It's great. Okay, so we're back.
We're back. You're number 4.
This is going to be a tough one, but I'm gonna go from the heart here because I feel Martin Scorsese has obviously an iconic career. And unfortunately, Goodfellas was exactly 1990. I really thought I could get it in.
I know. I felt the same way about the Grease Santini, but it was 79. So there you go.
Yeah, there's the 70s and there's the 90s and beyond. But there was one movie in the 80s. He had a couple others, but there's one movie in the 80s, a modern day interpretation of The Hustler called The Color of Money, with Mr. Tom Cruise and Paul Newman, which I still can watch anytime possible. An underrated performance by Forrest Whitaker. Just an amazing movie. And you think you're figuring out who Vince is and all that kind of stuff. And then you get the little twist at the ending that I just missed it. on the corner there and he's being affable and actually like, I knew you'd appreciate it. And then you see the sink in Paul Newman, who thought he got his mojo back and he's got his glasses and he's swimming and he's like feeling it. And you realize that he really thought he got him one over and he didn't. It's just, oh man, right here. And the Vince t-shirt. I mean, come on.
That is a good one. Although I would argue anyone could have played Tom Cruise's character did not need to be him. It was really a Paul Newman.
Okay.
I just didn't think he was as good. I like Paul Newman was amazing. He carried the movie all by himself, and I would agree about Forrest Whitaker, but
name one bigger star in the 80s than Tom Cruise.
In the 80s, off the top of my head, I don't know, but I'll get back to you on that. Let me think about that. I'll get back before we're on.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then on that same feel-good thing, my number 3 pick is The Big Chill.
Thought she might go there.
Arguably the second best movie soundtrack of all time.
I'll give you that.
Great songs from start to finish. You've got a really crazy group of people that you wonder how they ever even connected back in college, thrown together in the house for a weekend. Don't get me wrong, there's some total cheeseball and weird things that Jeff Goldblum a couple of times you just want to kick him off to the reservation somewhere and be like, why are you even with these people? How do they even like you? But it gets you all the feels. It kind of makes you think a little bit. It makes you appreciate the value of life, future, etc.
It kind of feels like the next stage after St. Elmo's Fire. So those people are supposedly.
So you have to move fast forward about 20 years. But yes, I would agree with
supposedly that. Those people in St. Elmo's Fire are fresh out of college, even though they look like they were
all like 35. Yeah. Judd Nelson was probably 40
right. But I never connected with Big Chill. I get it. And yes, you're right about the soundtrack.
Oh, it's so good. Big Chill's one of those ones at like 2 a.m. I can't sleep. I turn on TV and, HBO, one of those has it on. And next thing I know, 2 hours.
One of my favorite people, not so much actors, Goldblum. I didn't quite get his role in it.
Oh, no.
And then again with the whole like impregnation side story, like, again, this might be just generational thing. When I'm watching it, I'm just kind of wide-eyed, but again, the overall plot, like I get the whole coming together for, a friend that has passed, and starts off good, but then I feel when it starts to get into the sub stories, I do like the Tom Berenger aspect of it, of like, the guy that made it, but kind of coming down a little bit in his career and trying to jump in the car again, and they're all kind of having fun with it and stuff. But there's a couple side stories there that I just never really connected with. And that would be my only thing. Like, I didn't really get Goldblum. I didn't really get like, we're kind of good friends. We're not really good friends, but yeah, you can sleep with my wife, maybe. I don't know. It just felt a little disjointed to me.
Well, it was backwards. It was you can sleep with my husband, but yes, I would agree.
Right. Yeah. Sorry.
They were good friends because she was the godmother to one of their children.
Yeah.
There was that whole, she had an affair with, Kevin Costner is the one that died. You never see him because he got cut. Right. He ended up getting cut out of the movie. But she had that affair with Kevin Costner, and I think he was carrying on guilt for that still. I mean, don't get me wrong, totally jacked. And you sit there and you think, why would you people still be friends? You guys really, truthfully have no business together. But you can kind of get where they were going with it, just not real life. Which, let's be honest, those movies are supposed to be escapes. So.
No, I get it. Like, and there are some actual times, again, a lot of it based on the soundtrack, where they are getting together, they're breaking bread, they're drinking, they're having a good time. There's a lot of good feel-good movies in it. There was a lot of disconnect in the actual storyline that I never connected with. But
totally.
It is iconic 80s movies.
Yes.
All right. Ooh, so I got 3 left, and I've got so many to choose from. I'm going to pick one that I don't think anybody would expect, but I'm picking Glory. Glory, the movie that put Denzel Washington on the map. He was winner of Best Supporting Actor. It was an amazing story of the Civil War. Give him hell, 54th. Like, when I hear that, like, Matthew Broderick can only play so many roles. Everybody's kind of wondering, like, why didn't he ever really take off? Because Ferris Bueller, he was charismatic, but then he really is more election. He's a little bit more sniveling. He's a little bit more silently strong. You know, he's not charismatic. He's not good looking. Well, maybe some people think he's good looking, but not Hollywood good looking. Right. Not Hollywood. He's not, you know, but he plays a good part in that role because you don't know exactly where he's coming. Is he going to stand up for these guys? Is he not? He's perfect for that role. And again, you know, Denzel Washington iconically taking off his shirt with the whip marks. I mean, it got me. It got me hard. And that's a movie that I always stuck with. And again, you know, when they're going out there to battle and those previously people, they're ripping them to shreds or cheering them on, it was impactful. And I love that movie Glory, and I couldn't let it go by. So my number 3 pick, Glory.
Nothing to say, no arguments there at all.
Great movie.
Okay. I'm on my number 2, right?
Number 2. Give me your number 2.
I know, I just sound. My second pick is perhaps my favorite actor of all time. I don't know if I can say this is his best movie, but it's definitely one of his best movies. That is An Officer. I mean, come on.
I knew there had to be.
How could he not be on my list?
You had a poster of him in your room, man.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is no American Gigolo. It's just not. However, you just feel for him the whole entire movie. You just feel for him. Mayo, you just feel for him. You can't help it.
Well, yeah.
Even though I will be honest, she should have never gone back to Deborah Winger because she's not worthy of him. But that end of that movie, when he goes into that plan, making the bags, and Paula, horrible person. I mean, no, not Paula. Whatever. It's just that girl that completely screwed over his best friend is there, and you can tell she's thinking about the wrong guy. Again, you can just see in her face, sweeps her up, carries her over. You know, a little romantic comedy, quite a lot of drama, a lot of character flaws. It's my number 2.
I mean, Gossett's doing a lot of heavy lifting in there.
Oh, for sure.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, Richard Gere's a good-looking lad. He's carrying his own weight, but you know, Gossett.
Who else is in it, really? But I mean, Deborah Winger's in it. But let's be honest, who else is in it besides the 2 of them? That's pretty much it.
And I will say it did feature the iconic picking you up out of work, carrying you out scene that has been mirrored and brought on. I mean, even the Simpsons did it. Like, I mean, it was a big one. But yeah, in American Gigolo, he was probably cooler, but that's a terrible movie. This was an actual good movie that had, I got nowhere else to go.
Well, that fight scene, and Gossett just gets him right between the legs, and he falls down. You can feel the visceral pain for him.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I can dig it. It was on my short list. Okay, it was on my top, let's call it top 12. It made my top 12. So, you know, by that, it's not too bad. So I got 2 left and I got 4 I want to pick. That's the problem.
I'm in about the same place.
That's how many great ones I still have left. I'm going to back it up with arguably, should I save the best for last or should I use it now in case you're going to usurp me? So I'm going to take it out at number 2. Do the Right Thing. The best movie of the 1980s, in my opinion, overall.
Wait, this is supposed to be your number 2. Is this you're doing your number 1 instead of your number 2?
I'm just sneaking it in case you happen to have it on your top 2 list. So I'm taking it now.
I only have 1 more left. So
it might be your number 1. So I'm taking it now because I want to bring the thunder. I want to do Love and Hate and bring Radio Raheem to life and just appreciate the fact of, I mean, what Spike Lee was bringing to us in 1989 was something that nobody could even brace themselves for. The social commentary, the performances, the honest truth, the breakthrough cinematography, everything about it was so dynamic, and like it could come out next week and nobody would say it was an 80s movie.
Absolutely.
It could be a 2020s movie. Absolutely. Like it was that on brand. You know, I mean, shoot, people still wear retro Jordans and Brooklyn Dodgers outfits, and it's still hot as hell in Brooklyn, and people are still, you know, popping the water plug just to keep cool. I mean, and everything about it, the Danny Aiello, like the performances in there are just, oh my goodness, man. I think it's probably could be one of the, it's definitely one of the best movies of the 80s if I had to overall, even including comedies and other genres. But yeah, I had to get Do the Right Thing. Gotta pick it. It's amazing.
I have no complaints. I think it's fantastic, and I agree with you. If it come out tomorrow, it would be just as wildly popular. And in some ways, it was almost underrated in the 80s. It might have even been bigger if it came out now than it was.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Except Rosie. Rosie in the front.
Yeah.
Crushing it. Crushing it.
Okay. Well, I only have one left. I have a lot. But I'm going to go with probably the movie that most people, if they got a list of all the 80s movies, would say for sure they'd either seen it or if they hadn't seen it, it somehow had crossed their life in popular culture. And that would be Scarface.
What?
Come on, I had to come from left field a little bit. Say hello to my little friend.
I mean, yeah, as far as like cultural references, posters on dorm room walls, all that kind of stuff, but it's not a good movie.
Al Pacino's never made a bad movie. Al Pacino is. I would see Al Pacino.
Have you seen The Presidio? Have you seen Sea of Love? Like, okay,
well, maybe not Sea of Love. I'll go that far.
Thank you.
Dog Day Afternoon. I mean, no, that was.
No, he's made well, actually, and we won't get into the stage of his career. He was in Jack and Jill, just for the record.
He was.
Oh yeah, the Adam Sandler one where he played him and his twin. He played him and his twin sister, Adam
right,
Sandler.
That was Jack and Jill, right?
Al Pacino was in that movie. And was into female Adam Sandler. Was into her. So he's made bad movies.
I got no words to
say. But getting back to it, yes.
I got no words to say there. I think it was Godfather and Godfather 2 and well, the Godfather 3.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah.
I think Scarface just had a huge impact. And you had Michelle Pfeiffer. It just had a huge impact.
Oh, well, Michelle Pfeiffer had me at Cool Rider Grease too. So yeah. I'm gonna go ahead, but that will never make anybody's list other than
not even well, unless it was a list for one.
I would love to argue it, you know, in any way, shape, or form, because that dance sequence still gets me. But digress. Back to Scarface.
One of the worst sequels of all time with the Grease too.
It is the end sequence. Iconic. Definitely the rise to power, the underhero story, but it's just not really that good of a movie. I'm sorry. I love it. I love it. I can't.
But I've never talked to anyone who does not say I enjoyed watching it. It was a fun time. Has a reference to it. You rarely run into a person that says, "Oh, I don't know, I've seen that, heard of it." They've heard of it. They've seen it. So that's
okay. I'm bending back.
It kind of fits the whole 80s. It was a decade of kind of that. So there's where you go. That's my number one thing.
Okay, I'm bending back because we did just say the best. We didn't say critically acclaimed. We didn't say.
Well, I had an Oscar winner on here already with Wall Street, which I don't know how that happened.
Hey, I have Denzel in Glory, so I have. All right, so here we are. This is gonna be a tough one. I'm gonna go ahead and list a couple that I'm not choosing because I didn't think E.T. was technically a drama. So I'm gonna leave that off there because especially the third act and him getting crusty and the guys running, yeah, I didn't. Broadcast news, a tour de force performance by my man with Flop Sweat, Albert Brooks. If anybody's not aware of their Albert Brooks, please get on it now. That guy is amazing, and that performance was amazing. But overall, when you break it down, it's kind of a typical story of he likes her, she doesn't like him.
Very predictable.
Yeah, but the Flop Sweat swing, and actually William Hurt's great in it too. I mean, the performances are fantastic.
Right. Although I will say, as much as it's predictable, and I won't give any spoilers for people who haven't seen it yet, the ending, in my opinion, does not walk down predictable at all.
True.
It completely zagged in a different direction, but I would highly recommend people rent that.
And I appreciate you giving a spoiler warning on a 40-year-old movie.
And I didn't say what the ending was. I just said,
you know, if you haven't seen this movie in 35 years, man, spoilers ahead. But all right. So, Steel Magnolias on my list. I'm sorry. The Aardvark Cake, Drink Your Juice, Shelby. I cried tears. It's a great movie. Didn't make my top 6, but it's great. What it comes down to are these two, and I'm actually surprised one did not make your list. I know. So my number one movie, the movie that put Cameron Crowe on the map, the one that made John Cusack a star, the one that had everybody put in a boombox above their head and say anything. Number one dramatic movie of the 1980s. It was between that and Dirty Dancing.
Lloyd Dobler.
It was between that. Kickboxing, sport of the future. The only thing, it does have a little hiccup because I don't really need to know that much about her dad and his tax shit.
That's why it's not on my list, because I could have gotten rid of that whole character.
But Crowe is genius, and the dialogue, the relationships he has with his friends, both the guys at the gas and sip and his girlfriends are like, don't be a guy. Everybody's a guy. There's so much great dialogue there. You can see how Cameron Crowe took this and actually influenced people like Judd Apatow and onward. The relationship between, you know, Dobler and Diane Cord is great. That is the one hiccup is the dad storyline. It's just a touch too much.
It's just way too much. He's too. I mean, there's something about the way he likes his daughter. It's just a little creepy. I get a lot of weird vibes from that whatsoever. But I will also put it on a list of one of the best soundtracks. Of course, all John Cusack music movies.
Oh yeah.
Soundtracks, but it's definitely a list of good soundtracks.
Yeah. But it was between, in my opinion, it's between that and Dirty Dancing. And Dirty Dancing kind of had some creepier moments, but some equally iconic moments. And so, say anything, I can watch it over and over again. But yeah, it definitely has a hiccup. So that's my number one. And again, you know, it's best. Like, how many people do the boombox?
Oh,
that is like the iconic '80s image. Like, I mean. And again, that's, you know, I'm getting Denzel on his push. I'm getting, you know, Cusack on his push. You know, these were like career building moments for these people. You know, it should have been better off dead. Should have been better off dead.
Better off dead.
Say anything.
But I probably know as many movie lines from Better Off Dead as I do from Say Anything. So get that going for us.
We can do movie lines. All right. Well, thank you very much, my sister. I love you so much. Thank you for coming on and joining me.
Give my nephew a big hug and kiss for me.
Absolutely. Take care.
And the other one once he wakes up from his nap. Bye. Thanks.